She was born in fire and forged by resistance. No written records of her early life remain. No baptismal certificates, no official registry. But oral traditions speak louder than ink. From the Ashanti lands of Ghana, she was taken. Ripped from the motherland and thrown into bondage. But Queen Nanny's spirit refused to break. The world into which Nanny was born was one of violence and upheaval. Europe's thirst for wealth fed a brutal system of chattel slavery. Millions of Africans were captured, shackled, and shipped across the Atlantic. They were stripped of names, languages, families. But not of their will. Among them were warriors, priests, healers, and strategists. Nanny may have come from such lineage. Possibly of the Akan or Ashanti people. People known for their military organization, spiritual strength, and resistance to colonizers. The Ashanti Confederacy was no stranger to conflict. They fought with tenacity against rival states and colonial incursions. Ashanti women, too, played roles in diplomacy and spiritual leadership. If Nanny descended from this heritage, her fire was inherited, not accidental. Once in Jamaica, she vanished into the pages of official records. But she resurfaced in the mountains. Not as property, but as power. Somewhere in the Blue Mountains, she joined the Maroons. Escaped Africans who carved out freedom in the wild terrain. Victims from various ethnic groups. And from this fusion, a new identity was born. Rooted in Africa, but forged in Caribbean resistance. Nanny quickly rose to prominence. She wasn't just wise, she was powerful. She practiced obeah, the spiritual and medicinal knowledge passed down through generations. With herbs, she healed the sick and strengthened warriors. With ritual, she connected the living to the ancestors. To the British, obeah was superstition. To the Maroons, it was survival. They believed Nanny could foresee enemy movement. That she could vanish into thin air. That she caught bullets in her skirts. Legends say she invoked ancestral spirits to protect her warriors. This wasn't mere folklore. It was a way to inspire confidence, unity, and fearlessness. Obeah was not only spiritual but psychological. A powerful tool of resistance in a world that denied Africans their humanity. Nanny established her base in what became known as Nanny Town. Hidden high in the mountains, shrouded in mist and silence. From there, she led daring raids on plantations. They freed captives, destroyed property, and weakened the colonial economy. She targeted sugar fields, the lifeblood of empire. She burned them to the ground. Her knowledge of the terrain gave her an unmatched advantage. She trained fighters in guerrilla warfare. They moved like shadows. Used conch shells and drumbeats to communicate. Set traps of sharpened bamboo and lured British troops into deadly ambushes. She turned the land into a weapon. Each raid was a message. We are here. We are free. And we will not go back. British forces grew desperate. They sent wave after wave of troops into the mountains. They underestimated the will of those who had tasted freedom. For over 30 years, Queen Nanny led her people in defiance. The British built forts, cut roads, offered bounties. But the Maroons could not be broken. Nanny's spirit carried them. The colonial records speak of a woman who commanded fear. They called her a rebel, a sorceress, a dangerous enemy. But her people called her mother. She fed them, defended them, led them. She wasn't merely a fighter, she was the heart of a nation. She established systems of food storage and rationing. So her people could endure long sieges. She instituted codes of justice and community rituals. She protected the culture of the African homeland. Even while forging a new one in exile. Her impact was felt across the island. Even those still enslaved in the plantations whispered her name. They knew of the mountain queen who took no orders. To them, she was hope. Proof that escape was possible, that resistance was real. As her reputation grew, so did the empire's frustration. By the 1730s, the British Empire had poured immense resources into defeating the Maroons. But each campaign ended in humiliation. Too many soldiers died. Too much money was spent. Too much pride was lost. In 1739, they conceded. The colonial governor signed a treaty with the Windward Maroons. It acknowledged their freedom. It granted them 500 acres of land. It marked the first time the British formally recognized free black communities in the Caribbean. Queen Nanny never signed the treaty herself. Her struggle had never been for compromise. Her goal was complete independence. She accepted no deals from the empire that once enslaved her. After the treaty, Nanny Town was resettled. But her fight lived on. In chants, in drumbeats, in dances around the fire. Her memory was kept by generations who knew her power. Some say she lived into the 1750s. Others claim she disappeared into the forest. Her body gone, but her spirit eternal. In 1975, the government of Jamaica named her a national hero. One of the only women in the Caribbean to receive the honor. Her image now appears on the Jamaican $500 bill. But her legacy cannot be measured in currency. Her true worth lies in what she left behind. A model of resistance. A blueprint for rebellion. A symbol of African sovereignty on stolen land. She showed that the enslaved were never docile. That women were not merely victims of empire. That spiritual knowledge was as powerful as gunpowder. Nanny taught that freedom could be grown in the mountains. Watered by courage and guarded by ancestors. She proved that no system of oppression is eternal. Not even one as vast and cruel as the British Empire. Across the diaspora, her name lives. In songs sung in Suriname. In chants heard in Haiti. In rhythms played in Ghana. Her reach is global. Her impact incalculable. Every enslaved revolt that followed bore her fingerprints. The tactics of Maroons were studied and replicated. In the revolts of Taki, in the fires of Morant Bay, in the fields of Saint-Domingue. Queen Nanny was there, in spirit, in story, in strategy. Today, her legacy teaches us to remember that we are descendants of resistance. That sovereignty begins in the mind. That freedom, once claimed, must be defended. Queen Nanny of the Maroons. The woman who made the British bleed. Her war never ended. It lives in every act of resistance. Every refusal to forget. Every declaration that Africa's children were never slaves by nature, but freedom fighters by blood. She is not just Jamaica's mother. She is the mother of black resistance in the Western Hemisphere. In every whisper of rebellion. In every drumbeat of liberation.